Ooh, I'm trying for that. I'm trying for the next level up for the two-handed. Oh, am I dead? I think I might actually be dead. Hello and welcome back to the Sturgian Viking series, and we're now at Tubulis Castle. Oh yes, this seems like a rather familiar location for us now, and well, I hope that it's not going to continue to be. Anyway, we have an army from the Aserai here. Of course, we want to try and hunt down as many Aserai vassals as we can, and well, this seemed like a pretty good opportunity to do just that. So, we're just going to wait. You know, that's what you do, you know. In these kinds of situations, in my opinion at least, it is a good idea to just wait, because as you can see right here, if there is even a small garrison, as we know, because obviously in the previous episode we had a similar situation where we went into Tubulis Castle. I had about 100 or so units in there, and it basically caused us to lose about 300 total units. And I'm not talking about Grim Reaper, you know, coming along and visiting our people in their beds late at night. No, it wasn't that, but it was actually just about 80 or so that we lost in general, because, well, we had an army, and of course you're going to lose much more in that case, but otherwise, in these kinds of situations, the vassals that are attacking are going to lose so much more, and that is exactly what we want. Anyway, let's do this. We're going to go in and we're going to fight this army, and we're going to see how it goes. Now, bear in mind that I do have a slightly different army composition than what I had previously, and that is mainly due to the fact that I made a brief stopover at Garrisons Castle. And, well, if you know anything about garrisoning and the automatic garrison that happens when a thing is initially taken and everything, usually they'll put in a mixture of high-tier, mid-tier, low-tier units. And if you're lucky, you're going to get a pretty significant amount of decent units. But if you're unlucky, you're going to get mostly low-tier. Thankfully, in Garrisons Castle, I do have some high tier, but nothing too extreme. Literally just some Aserai units that are slightly better than the average, and so I decided to take a whole bunch of those. I know, yes, using Aserai units against the Aserai doesn't really make much sense, but that was basically the highest tier units that I could get my hands on, and I didn't really want to travel all the way back to Sturgian territory or anywhere else that I had a more sufficient garrison. And in Garrisons Castle, I only had a garrison of about 80 units, so I even went over to Ortisia as well and took a look at what I had in there, and I mostly had Imperial cavalry, and I already have a pretty significant amount of cavalry, so I didn't really do too much about them. I pretty much just left them alone for the most part, but it's nice to know that they're there if we need them. And hopefully I'm gonna... Oh, that was a nice... Oh, yes, a double hit. Thank you. Ah, yes. You're now leaving the area. Immersion break. Ah, very good. Ah, thank you so much. Okay, yes, anyway. Point is, we're hopefully going to be able to eliminate as many of these cavalry as we can. Seems like we're actually doing a pretty decent job so far. And where's the enemy? Ah, there they are. Look at that. They seem to just be allowing us to completely slaughter all of their cavalry. No doubt they're going to be receiving reinforcements, of course, but I am just very pleased that they're not really taking any action whatsoever to sort of try to counter us a little bit. And I can pretty much just do some random stuff here, hopefully not get killed in the process. Going to get my cavalry to come over here and my archers to come over here and everything. I think we've already eliminated, yes, indeed, we have eliminated most of their cavalry already, so it shouldn't be that bad. And they are getting the high ground once again. The high ground is, of course, something you always want to try and get. In the famous words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, I have the high ground, Anakin. And, you know, you really, really want that high ground. Yes, you do. I do have a little bit of high ground here, so if the enemy did decide to move towards us, we would probably have a somewhat decent time of defending against them, but of course they're not going to do that. I mean, let's face it, they're going to be quite smart about where they disperse themselves, and they're not being that smart, but they could be up against the battlefield boundary and that would indeed prevent them from doing something. But this particular kind of army composition is going to allow me so many more strategic options that I felt, hey, you know what? Let's try it out. Let's try out a 1=1=1 ratio, and you can see that it is actually happening quite nicely. You can see here I've got 77 infantry, 74 archers, and a little bit less cavalry, but, you know, didn't really want to overload on the cavalry, because if I overload on the cavalry, then it's going to be one of those times where we literally just stomp everyone in sight, and I don't really want it to be a super steamroll, which I could easily make it, which, I mean, that's the point. You know, the game does not have a significant amount of balance right now, but obviously it will gain that balance as time goes on, and obviously due to certain aspects of it, you can kind of take advantage of them, and it's just up to you really whether you decide to do so, because generally if you want to, you can make yourself and indeed your army super powerful, but you don't have to. You know, that's the point. And we're losing a lot of people right now. We are losing a lot of people. This is actually... Oh, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, this is bad. This is bad news bears right here. Oh dear. I think I might be dead. Okay, my cavalry... Oh, yeah. See, now this is exactly what I'm talking about. They had the high ground, and do you see how effective it was for them to have that? It's astounding, really. Absolutely astounding how much damage they were able to deal, just purely for the fact that they had the high ground and were able to maximize their efficiency against us. Oh, I really wanted to murder that guy, but I swung to the wrong side. Oh well, never mind. Ooh, yeah, that was a bit problematic. Okay, I'm gonna have to switch to my shield now. I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful here. Gonna tell my archers to charge in just in case some of them have run out of ammunition. You never know when they have. Oh, take out that mercenary cavalry. That was a really nice parry on his part initially, but it was not enough to save him in the end. Oh, this is certainly not something I really want to get into, to be honest. But I think we have this in the bag. I really want to survive. That was basically my main goal in this, pretty much just surviving, because in my opinion at least, my orders at the moment were probably some of the best I've given in a while, because obviously most of the time beforehand I just had infantry, and well, there's not much I can do except charge and, well, auto-delegate. That's basically the two different options I have. Obviously you can also put them into shield wall and tell them to hold position behind the enemy lines, and then as a result your forces are going to move into the opponent while still maintaining their defensive formation and everything, and that can be very effective. As we've seen in the past in this series, I have been able to utilize that particular strategy quite well, but in general there's very limited options. And in these kinds of situations, if I were to get myself eliminated, it's probably going to result in many, many deaths on our part. Many more deaths, actually, than we've already seen right here. As you can see, we've got 43. We did end up losing more Huskars, Sturgian Marauders, and what else do we have here? Oh, Vlandian Banner Knights as well. But yeah, you can see here that... wait a minute. Oh, we didn't lose any, actually. Oh, that's kind of amazing. Yeah, so you can see here that I do have some Azurai Master Archers. 30 of them are currently in the battle. And there you go. One vassal has been murdered. Oh, yes. Has well, shall we say, succumbed to his wounds from the battle. And we will indeed be taking every single one of them prisoner, because 2 out of 3 of these vassals are significantly strong, and I would like to be able to murder them. Now, bear in mind that Diul himself is indeed, as far as I am aware, if we take a look at him right now, Aserai, he is the leader of the Aserai. And I think, wait a minute, this guy right here, he will become the leader of the Aserai. I think it would actually be quite interesting if children could also become the leader of a faction rather than the clan just being destroyed immediately. Obviously, I'm talking about if they're at least 10 years old or something along those lines. And I'm not saying that they should be eligible for executions, not by any means. I'm not saying that they should be eligible for that. However, it would add another level of, well, not really strategy, so to speak, but it would add another level of safety net for possible roleplay reasons. For example, if a particular faction loses all of their vassals, in the case of the Vlandians, of course, because we know that the Vlandians literally have no vassals remaining, but they do, or shall we say, they would have still some children from the various clans available, and those children could very well become the king or queen of that faction. So it would be a good way to explain how the troops and everything would still be ready to fight. Of course, some people in the comments have been kind enough to lend me their opinions and stuff on the whole, you know, what happens if all the nobles have been murdered. Well, then obviously the regular soldiers and troops and everything would still be loyal to that faction. They're not just going to drop all their weapons and just be like, oh, well, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely. But I feel like that would probably be a pretty cool way to do it, and to have, you know, to have those children take over, and for them to be not attackable, of course, because I think that would be that'd be a little bit too much. Yeah, you know, they could basically be, they could be actual NPCs, but obviously not NPCs that enter battle in any way. I think that might actually be quite cool. That would increase the immersion factor, increase the atmosphere of these clans and everything. And okay, so apparently the Aserai have elected Diul as the new ruler. Right. Well, that's I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that one bit, but apparently they want a dead man. They want a dead man to lead them. Okay, that's something I would never have expected, to be honest. I probably should have, because the diplomacy / kingdom management in Bannerlord is a little bit wonky sometimes, as you can no doubt tell. But yeah, there you go, I guess. Kind of weird. Kind of weird. Okay, I'm actually going to be attacking these guys. I want to get them off the map as soon as possible, because they do have a number of wounded, as you can see right here. And these wounded, we don't want them to restore themselves by any means. We really do not want that to happen. So if we can prevent that, then that's great. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to run interference within Aserai territory. We're going to try and either force them into a peace agreement situation, or we're going to hopefully be able to find a number of vassals that are by themselves, that are not in an army. And this guy, yes, I remember you, sir. He was a part of the Sturgians, and then he left. But what has he taken with him? It seems like he has not taken anyone with him, so I suppose we can't really hold too much against him. However, it is a little bit grinding my gears that he actually ended up leaving initially, because it probably would have resulted in a lot more power for us if he had stayed, because as you can see, he's actually a pretty sizable leader of, well, quite a lot of troops. So let's actually see something. I don't really want to persuade him, but I would like to get through to the trade screen if at all possible. But as you can see, we've already failed the 68% chance, which is sad. Yes. Oh, never mind. We got double critical success options. Fantastic. I like it. All right. So unfortunately, he does not have anything that we really want him. That we really want from him, that is. And I could technically give him something. For example, I could give him this, and then he's going to join. Can I take all his money? I could take half of his, not even half of his money, actually. That is pretty much pointless, in my opinion. Yeah, pretty much pointless. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do an auto-resolve against this guy. I think, as you can see, that's very efficient. 2 deaths alone. Pretty nice. And we now have the opportunity to murder him, which is in fact what we will do. There we go. And now his clan has lost a very strong vassal. Hopefully they will not all have such significant abilities to field these massive armies that can run around with 150 to 200 units or something like that. Oh, hello there. Seems like we have another army on our hands. Ooh, I don't think I know any of these vassals, actually. But as you can tell, they don't really have anything that can significantly deal damage to us. But I have a lot of wounded units at the moment, and that's the reason why we're probably going to run away a little bit. I'm going to go into this village right here. And you may be thinking, why are you running into this village? Are you an imbecile? Well, yes, I am. But that is beside the point. The point that I'm wanting to make to you right here is that I have a skill in one of my trait, well, shall we say a perk? I'm not entirely sure. Is this actually even working? Which one is it? It's not this. I think it's medicine. Yes, perfect. Yeah, I believe this is working. As far as I'm aware, medicine in my version of the game at the moment is either it's like 86% or 90-something% complete. So I think this one is actually working. If you take a look at bannerlordperks.com at 1.5.2's version, you should see that the second portion of this particular perk, party gets healing rate bonus when waiting in villages by 20%, so an increase in healing by 20%. That, in my opinion, is worth staying in villages just to purely benefit from that regeneration. And I think it's more than you would otherwise get by running around, because there is another perk that you get by staying mobile on the world map. And as far as I'm aware, waiting for some time seems to have a greater regenerative effect than running around. If we actually look at the medicine here, yes, as you can see, walk it off, bonus 10% healing rate increase. So basically it is a 100% increase in how much you get. So I'm actually very pleased about that, to be honest. I think that that's a very worthwhile thing to do. If you have nowhere to be and you're not being murdered, then it's a very, very good idea to stay in a nearby village and see what's going on. All right, so Saratis is probably going to get this. I might as well just get some more relation with him just in case. Maybe at some point in the future he'll end up leaving, and getting some relation is going to assist us in trying to either persuade him to rejoin us if he has proven himself to be somewhat useful, or as the case may be, to literally just murder him, and his relation doesn't really matter in that case. All right, let me just take a look. Oh, this is a large clan. What? Wow, huge amounts of children right here. Look at that. Basically from this one onwards, it's all children. That's actually insane. Wow. That is actually pretty crazy. Okay, well, we're just going to be murdering you. I'm so sorry. And we will be moving on to the nearby army as well, but I still have 66 wounded, so we have to be very careful, because we don't really want to go in and then have ourselves be taken by surprise. But let's have a look, shall we? Oh, we stopped him. Yeah, as you can see, Turbulus Castle has 81 again, so the auto garrison, whoever is actually garrisoning this, Lonalion is apparently garrisoning it. So, yeah. The troops that are going in there are, of course, making a big difference to the longevity of that castle, because if I can stay in the area, the AI is going to reevaluate their situation almost every time. At least they will after losing a couple of units to the siege itself. So let me actually just see what happens here, because I know a bunch of people would like... What? Are you serious? The lord of this castle has forbidden you from coming inside these walls, and the guard sergeant informs you that his men will fire if you attempt to come any closer. Right, so that's also very pleasant, isn't it? So let me actually just take a quick look at who this is. Aha, well that makes sense, as you can see right here. He has negative 100 relation with us. Can't really do much about that, unfortunately, but that means that I will not be able to participate in a siege defense, which is exactly what I was planning on doing here if they went through with the siege, which is highly unlikely at this point. And that's also the reason why I was about to say, I know a lot of people would love to see a siege defense, and yeah, you have no idea how much I want to do a siege defense, to be honest. I really, really do. I find siege defenses in Bannerlord to be some of the most fun that you can have, but unfortunately they're so rare that it's very difficult for me to get into any kind of situation that will allow us to experience one, which is sad. I don't know really why that is, but, you know, it just... so happens to be that way, you know. At the moment, siege defenses are somewhat difficult. So this is the last remaining vassal in Kahin's clan, and as a result, I will be murdering. Oh yes, I will certainly be murdering. There we go. And there you are. All of them have been lost. That's also what I'm talking about, by the way, when I say that maybe children should take over the kingship, or maybe not the leader of a clan, but maybe the kingship. You know, in the case of the leading clan, maybe they should take over until they have come of age, and then at that point they become a fully fledged vassal, and then they're able to roam around the map and affect the game world in a more significant way than literally just using their influence to vote on certain things and so on and so forth. That's what I'm talking about. So a little bit of greater immersion in these cases would be very cool, in my opinion. But obviously, again, it's early access. They might be thinking about this, they might not be thinking about it, who knows, because they obviously have the children's progression on their mind with the new education system that they were going to implement, or that they talked about in one of their update blogs. And yeah, that's something that I'm very much looking forward to when I finally update my game version, because obviously I don't know whether that's been implemented just yet. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments if it's been implemented yet, because I obviously am not very familiar with what's going on in the current version of Bannerlord, although I do try to keep up to date on the various, you know, update blogs and so on. But generally, I don't play on it, so obviously I can't know whether, you know, something has been implemented just yet. Okay, so I think basically we have I think we have enough strength to be able to take them on. They have been leveling up their units, as you can see, actually quite significantly. What? That is quite frightening, I've got to say. That is quite frightening. They only have 3 vassals in here, but they have been so significantly able to level up their units. I'm very surprised that they were able to level them up without really participating in any battles whatsoever. That kind of makes me believe that on higher difficulty levels, the AI is basically able to pull XP out of thin air, pretty much. Because from my reckoning, the vassals in Bannerlord should do exactly the same thing that the player does. In other words, they fight bandits, they fight enemy vassals, they raid villages. Obviously they do raid villages, and I think that's maybe where they got the experience from, but that is such a significant experience gain. I'm actually kind of surprised, because I don't know whether you saw the previous army composition, but it was not good in comparison to what they currently have. It was significantly less, let's just say that. They had 108, I think, 108 recruits, which of course is to be expected that they'll level up very, very quickly. But they leveled up into some of the highest tier units in pretty much one village raid? I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Maybe there's a bit of jiggery-pokery going on, which is absolutely fine, because of course the AI is never going to be as shall we say, efficient or proficient at leveling up their army, so they may need a little bit of magical assistance, if you know what I mean, to be able to field an army capable of participating in these kinds of battles. Otherwise, it's going to end up in a similar situation to what we had in the past, especially in the Crusade Khanate series, where this was a very dramatic feature change, because at that time, the vassals, the enemy vassals in Bannerlord would basically do exactly what you'd expect them to do. They would go to villages and they would recruit volunteers, just literally recruits. And these recruits would be, well, tier 1, obviously. They would be mostly tier 1 units, and they would then go into a fight, and they would obviously lose, every single time. They would obviously lose, because if the enemy army, which is almost always, if you're going to be seeing these kinds of battles happen, is almost always against the player. And so in those situations, the developer decided, hey, you know what? The AI is being utterly useless in these situations. We're going to have to improve them in some way. And so what they did was they made it possible for the AI to recruit from garrisons and to reinforce their ranks with slightly higher tier units as a result of that, because of course garrisons always have a semblance of higher tier units inside, and so that's what they started doing, and that's absolutely fine. That seems like a pretty decent sort of like stopgap measure until they're able to further refine the AI and doing stuff that is actually more in keeping with what they initially decided to do with Bannerlord, which was to have the AI basically do the same exact things that the player was capable of doing. And I thought that was really cool, because in that case, that means that you can do all kinds of really, really cool skirmish tactics, stealth tactics, underhanded, unsavory individual tactics, and so on, to prevent the vassals from gaining any kind of advantage. Because let's say you have information that there's a vassal nearby and you go, oh, look at that, he's just been defeated, I know where this vassal is, so I'm going to try and prey upon him to capture him. Because let's say you don't defeat him yourself, and let's say he's defeated in battle by some of your vassal friends or something like that, and you realize that he's at, I don't know, Praven or something, say if he's a Vlandian or whatever, then he's at Praven right now, and he's going to go to a nearby village and recruit. Well, then you can lay in wait for him, you can lay an ambush or something along those lines. And I think that that's a very cool system. However, it seems to me like, at least on higher difficulties, I'm not entirely sure if this happens on lower difficulties or anything, but it seems to me that at the moment, on the difficulty settings I'm on, it is causing a little bit of inflation in regards to their experience gain. Because I don't know whether you noticed, but as I said before, they had basically no units that could really fight us. And then all of a sudden in their army, they had some pretty good ones. And you can see here that they're actually giving us some problems. They really are. Ooh, I'm trying for that. I'm trying for the next level up for the two-handed. Oh, am I dead? I think I might actually be dead. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. What are these guys doing? What are these guys doing? Come on, archers. You gotta charge in there. You gotta charge in there. Thank you very much. What is actually going on with my shield, by the way? Did you notice that? It was like getting pushed away or something. Maybe they were using a kick or some kind of shield bash or something for us to, you know, remove that from... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's because I'm using a thrown weapon. Ah, yes. Well, I did say I was an imbecile earlier, didn't I? Yes, there's the confirmation. Oh, well. Never mind. Never mind. All right, well, we're perfectly fine here. That is indeed a... Well, that is indeed a victory. Wait a minute. Did I just get... Is that in my head? Are you serious right now? Is that literally in the back of my head right there? It looks to be the case. I'm actually wondering how that happened, because as far as I'm aware, the battle log said that I got hit in the arm. So that's a bit weird. Oh well, never mind. We ended up losing 33 units to the Grim Reaper. That is rather amusing. And we can now take all of them prisoner. Fantastic. Oh, yes. All right. So that gives us pretty much an overwhelming advantage against the Aserai. And we're going to take a look at their combat strength just after this. And we'll see how that is. Because as far as I'm aware... They are now... Yeah, look at that. We haven't... You know, this is exactly the reason why executing seems to be one of the most efficient methods to weakening a faction, with the exception of obviously persuading. But executing doesn't require any additional funds or resources or anything like that. It literally requires nothing. You don't need any... you basically don't need any skill either. You need no skill. You need pretty much nothing. Oh no, I might have given the developers another idea here. They're probably going to add a perk that is called Executioner or something, and you're going to have to take this perk in two-handed weapon proficiency or something that is going to then enable you to execute enemy vassals. That could be an idea, actually, because at the moment, as you can no doubt tell, I don't need anything to be able to do this, to be able to reduce the enemy's presence significantly. I can just go into a battle with them. I don't particularly have to be extremely skilled at combat or anything like that. If I have a good army or a decent army or a better army than the opponent, that's all you need. You just need a slightly better army than your opponent, that's all. And then you take them prisoner and you execute them. You just press one button and that's it. And that is significantly easier than doing any kind of persuading. And of course, that's how it's going to be, because if you want to persuade someone, then you have to deal with a living, breathing vassal, and they're going to cause all kinds of problems in the way that they feel insecure about their position in the world. You know, you need to give them a fief, or you need to give them some money, or something along those lines. And then you have the added... shall we say, added anxiety of having them potentially leave at some point in the future. And that is exactly the reason why I believe that executing is probably, as I say, I'm saying probably here because I'm not 100% certain on it, but I'm pretty sure in all of my series so far, the times when I'm actually able to execute is usually the way that we'll do the most in terms of efficient reducing of the enemy's combat strength. Generally, though, the best way to reduce combat strength, well, what is that, you ask? Well, obviously, you could take them prisoner. Taking them prisoner is also a good way to go about it, because that will also, basically make it so that you don't lose honor and you don't lose relation with a huge amount of people and everything like that. And you also take fiefs. Taking fiefs also has a huge effect on combat strength. And that's the point. With the Aserai, I haven't taken anything from them. Maybe the Crusade are actually taking some stuff from them. I'm actually not entirely sure. Let me actually just take a quick look. They are at war. They're not at war against the Khuzait. The Khuzait still have 7,500. That's actually kind of weird. I would have expected them to be against each other right there, but apparently not. Okay, but yeah, you can see here everyone else is pretty much on the back foot. The Southern Empire seem to be rising up a little bit here. They seem to be coming back quite strongly, and they seem to have a pretty significant amount of territory as well. Interesting, interesting. Well, let's see what happens. Let's keep an eye on them, and for the moment we will continue skirmishing against the Aserai. If you enjoyed this video, then please, by all means, leave a like. It is greatly appreciated, and otherwise, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.